Okay, hello. I'm a bit late to this party, but there are some changes made to the Trial of Tyr as of August 25th. Yeah, just about a week late. However, I want to cover the rule set changes in a little bit more detail. They've extended the end date until I believe September 19th, so that should be very interesting. And I've seen some attempts on Twitch. I don't think it's conducive to live streaming, really. You, I'll get more into it as we go along. I think a lot of the main speedrunners in the community right now are going to be recording it, and we'll see why. So, here we go. Rule set has been changed. Yeah, and let's just go over these rules again. I'll just kind of give little spark notes, the same ones that we've seen. Yes, hardcore speedrun, no dev commands, mods, yada, of course. This is interesting. No exploits, no bugs, glitches, and all this stuff. So no, not even like bugs, glitches, like just no exploits at all. Oof. There were a lot of little bugs and glitches, certain AI things that speedrunners took advantage of when dealing with certain bosses. And, this is gonna make the game take a little bit longer than usual, and in addition to the hard preset, of course. But everybody's speedrun is going to be quite a bit longer, particularly during the boss fights. They're going to be a bit of a struggle. Considering you can study the world in advance, all of your routing, everything like that should be pretty smooth. It's just you're gathering and actually fighting the boss that's going to be a little bit more tricky. And so, usually you would think, okay, speedrunners, they just have to get used to hard mode. They gotta formulate strats for the bosses. Once you have that, you have your logistics planned out. They only have to slightly modify that from a normal hardcore speedrun, and then they're off to the races. We should have some good attempts right now. Well, getting used to the hard preset is a little more difficult than seemed to be expected. Now, what's interesting about this is you would think that a lot of the people streaming this on Twitch give some sort of deference to the Valheim speedrunning community. And they say, oh, you've probably already done this run, that run, cemented yourself in 5 boss history before Mistlands came out in some way. And so maybe they'd find the 3 biggest Valheim speedrun channels at the moment: Nick Rawcliffe, Henrik, Thread Menace. Those 3 classics. Classics. And maybe if you look deep enough, you'll also find the small French speedrunning community as well. The one that stands out the most to me is Bada for the 6 boss hardcore runs that he's made. Super interesting stuff. And I love that there are these little communities to be found out there. Now, if I wanted to, say, seriously participate in this, and if I didn't know speedrunners and the speedrunning strat, I would 100% look into how things actually function, get my splits ready, and look into maybe some specific speedruns that have been done. Perhaps set the playback speed to 2 times and let the hardcore speedruns go. And you might be able to see that there has been quite a bit of a difference between, say, a normal hardcore run or even a normal run and how speedruns work. Well, if you were to say, come to me, a Valheim standard playthrough mechanical analysis guy and co-op analysis guy, works a lot with combat, tactics, logistics, and planning, and then also just making builds and guides for people for combat. If you were to come to me and say, oh, the spear, I love the spear. The spear is so good in normal play, I would kind of chuckle because it is not. It is outclassed by bow and atgear, and now we have even better ranged options to mess around with as well, like magic and the arbalest. And because of that, I look at the spear in normal gameplay and I think, that's kind of silly. We've got a lot of problems here. There's a lot of quality of life issues, as in, like, your inventory can fill up after you throw a spear, and then your main strategy is kind of fucked if you're a spear main, because you can't really pick it up. There's also the case of, in co-op, the spear being picked up by a friend of yours. That's really, really annoying. And of course also just missing a spear toss on pretty much every biome except for meadows. If you have a steep area in that section, it's like, okay, now the spear is over yonder, especially in the mountains and the mistlands. That is vicious and brutal. Now the swamps doesn't seem like it's as bad, but you could throw it over fairly deep into the ocean, which is, again, very, very painful, especially if you're in a tough combat situation. Overall, spears, not worth saving the one. Honestly, maybe sometimes more if you're replacing bow with ammo. It's not worth saving all of that inventory slot in normal solo, normal co-op play. But this is not normal solo, normal co-op play. This is a speedrun. And if you came to me and said, I'm going to do a Valheim speedrun without the spear, I would be even more confused and dumbfounded than before, because spears are integral to Valheim speedrunning. Not only with the spear toss large aggro radius to manipulate aggro and move enemies out of the way so that you can go and loot certain things like, say, fulling totems, but also using said aggro radius to aggro early game boars, using the spear toss in general along with kiting strategies to decimate a lot of enemies and bosses at a earlier stage than usual, all while not needing the time required to invest in bow and atgear that would make them better than the spear. You don't have the time in a speedrun to invest in bow plus atgear. You just have spear. And spear, oh boy, in a speedrun, might as well call it the spear run. That thing puts in some serious work, and I have seen some god tier tosses by the likes of Thread Menace, Henrik, Nick Rawcliffe even. No, Nick Rawcliffe doesn't use spear as much, but there seems to be a lot of RNG in his preferred style, really going heavy on rafts. I've noticed that, at least last year. I don't know how much that's changed, but I don't think that really changes the fact that the effectiveness of the spear is absolutely mind-boggling. A lot of times speedrunners will go flint spear, and then they will skip the bronze spear, go for ancient bark spear, make the fang spear, and maybe sometimes, depending on the run, particularly like the 6 boss run, you're going to see some sword investment, and I think that'll be ideal for mountains, maybe a silver sword, maybe quality 2 silver sword. Kill Yag, take out some fullings with it as well, because of course fulling camp generates right next to the Yag altar. And then using it in the Mistlands won't be too bad as well. Of course you could always just go Frostner in that case, invest in clubs, maybe even make the Demolisher, and you could do some Demolisher, Mistwalker shenanigans, although I think it would be Demolisher, Frostner, and Carapace Spear for the Mist Lance, I think, is going to be the big thing. Never mind swords. Forget I said that. I don't usually do theory crafting for hardcore, no exploit speed runs. We haven't seen them exist yet before this. Super interesting. But the spear is still incredible in speedrunning because the investment is low. Very low. Alright. Moving on. Now that we know that speedrunning in this specific rule set is pretty damn difficult, and we also know that there are a lot of streamers who aren't really taking it too seriously. They haven't done their research on the classic speedrunners or even the new age French community. Well, it's starting to show as they're passing up the spear in a speedrun, doing all sorts of silly attempts. Things aren't ending up too well. Also, taking big breaks, well, as you can pause the game, and it will pause your time. That's very convenient for recording. It's not very convenient if you want to maintain an audience while you're streaming. And your mentality might be burnt over time. People recording don't have the same issues. Now, going from here, the response that we see from one of the devs is kind of hilarious. Let's check this out from my favorite dev personally on the Iron Gate team, Jay Smars. What did he tweet out? What did this good lad tweet out? Anyone seen any good attempts at the Trial of Tyr Valheim speedrun competition yet? Was watching some early runs on Twitch yesterday. Would be insanely exciting to watch a nearly finished run at the office together. Please link any good streams. I'm going to read the reply before going over what I think is wrong about the tweet. So, response says, I've also been looking for a serious speedrun of the challenge. Found nothing over a few days. Ooh. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. But I think this is a somewhat correct assessment about a lot of the streams currently. Not the best. Not the best. I remember I was watching this guy, I think, if he wasn't too into speedrunning prior, it looks like he was making decent time. And then I saw his attempts were in the 30s. And, it just hurt my soul. Oof, painful. But I don't think you will find any good streams for a long time, maybe ever. Maybe never. I mean, it's possible that you just won't have something that's viable to watch at the office. Speedruns, especially hardcore speedruns, take a long time. Now, I know this is set seed, but still, you're going to see a lot of streamed speedruns take longer than an 8-hour office workday. Oh yes, they're going to take a long, long time. Some of these speedruns that I've seen, at least the times of them, like 17 hours, 11 hours, for like a segment. It's like, what is happening? My prediction, my theory, okay, not a prediction, my theory is a lot of people who have completed the hardcore Valheim run say, oh, it's a hardcore run, but I just have to be fast. Yeah, I can do that without even checking to see if there had been any Valheim speedrun strategies formulated over the years, which to me seems kind of almost disrespectful of the speedrun community. Surely you realize that it's just one Google search away, and you'll find these channels. I'm going to link them in the description and in the pinned comment down below. But, I mean, come on. Like Threat Menace, man. Nick Rawcliffe, Henrik. Let's go. Bada, even. Come on. These are some top quality entertainment. And while speedrunning isn't my thing personally, I find it hard to think that this wouldn't be quality entertainment for almost every Valheim player. Especially if you're undergoing this challenge yourself. This stuff would be fascinating to me. And yet, it seems to be disregarded. That's a damn shame. Now, serious speedruns found nothing. There are some good attempts and good attempt segments put out, from what I've seen by Thread Menace. Not anything nearly finished yet, but trust them. Have your faith in the speedrunners already in the speedrunning community. I fully predict, I predicted with my friend, I think that a sub 9 would be correct. I think it's actually going to be less than that. Once the speedrunners in the community have a good understanding of how the hard preset affects their run, I think it's going to be much less than that. I think we could see sub 7. And that would be a great speedrun to watch. That would be amazing. This might be just me being having optimism for it. Am I saying that right? It's late. I gotta sleep. But I think that they can do it. I think that they're going to crack 7 hours on their best attempts. And the amount of hours that they're probably putting into it right now is very absurd. But have trust in that. They're going to crush it. It's going to be really cool. Alright. That's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you guys some other time. Bye.